Hello and welcome back to the another episode of Daily News Quiz Analysis for IAS Prelims 2025. It is 19th December today, and in this video we are going to solve different types of questions which are very much relevant for your preparation. Before we'll start discussing these questions, I would like to give the brief introduction about the video so that if you are new to this channel you will get more connected with it. Every day in this video we discuss three types of questions. Here we are going to discuss three types of questions in this video. If we will divide these questions into the parts, it would come as the first part of our discussion will contain the questions with respect to the current affairs. What we do? We take up the most important articles from the newspapers, we break them down into the simplest language possible, and finally derive a prelims based question from that particular article, so that it will give the idea how the questions can be asked from the news analysis from the current affairs, and what part of the current affairs you have to focus more with respect to the prelims exams. So this is the first type of question which we discuss here. This is the first part of our discussion. After we discuss this part, after we discuss these questions with respect to the current affairs, we move to the another part of our discussion where we solve questions related to the static topics. What we do? We take up the static topic every day here, we discuss that, and we derive a prelims based question from that particular topic, or from that particular article. As right now we are discussing Indian polity, we derive a question from that particular topic and give the idea how a question can be framed from the static topic, even though the topic itself may seem very small, the topic itself may seem not that relevant, not that important, but UPSC has this habit of surprising us. So every day we discuss a question from the static part also, we discuss a topic from a static part also. And after discussing the questions with respect to the current affairs and the static part, we shift our approach towards the last part of our discussion where we solve questions with respect to the previous year question book. What we do? We take up every day a single question from previous year questions. We discuss that. We try to find out how UPSC can form a question, how their habit of forming the questions, what language they use, and how they can manipulate us by repeating the same questions in different languages. So we try to understand that, and also we try to implement the knowledge which we get from these particular questions which were asked in the previous exams in the upcoming exam. So this is what we do in this video. So this is in nutshell the summary of our video. Now with this, before we will start discussing these questions, I would like to request you guys few things which I believe if you will follow, it will benefit you tremendously. First of all, if I was at your place, what I will do? I will start, noting down these questions. I will start developing my own question bank. When my exams would be near, I am talking about the month of May, when only few days are left in the month of May, I would want to revise everything. At that time, the anxiety is at its peak, the heartbeat is at its peak. We want to revise everything, we want to go through every part of our syllabi, but it is practically impossible. But if we have these questions with us right now, what we are discussing, as we are discussing them from last 4 to 5 months, so if we have this question bank with us, what we will do, we will just revise these questions, we will go through these questions. These questions would connect us with the current affairs, they will connect us with the static part, and they will also connect us with the analysis of previous year questions, and they will boost our confidence before entering the exam hall. And who knows, as it is the same source which is used by UPSC faculty to frame your questions, maybe many questions can coincide, who knows that. So being on the safer side and being on the stronger side, it is better for you to note down these questions and revise them when your exams are near. And with this, I would like to request you guys, please do subscribe the channel and share it with your friends so that they may also get benefited from this initiative. And also do write in the comments what else should we bring for you guys. This initiative is for you, we are here to help you and at the same time improve ourselves. We may tend to make mistakes, we try our best to avoid any mistake, but if any found, please do write in the comments. If we confuse you anywhere, if anything is not clear, do write in the comments. We are here to help you, this initiative is for you, we will be much available to discuss those issues with you. So this is what I want from you. Now without any delay, let's have a look at the first question which we are going to discuss here. As we can see directly, the question is on the Election Commission of India. Question is on, it is powers. Here the question says, which of the following powers is not, is not vested with the Election Commission of India under the Constitution of India. So here we have to find out which of the following powers which are given below are not vested with the Election Commission of India. It becomes very much important for us to read the questions properly. There are many mistakes, including me. When I was a student, when I used to appear in the exams, I would ignore such small details, and after knowing the question I would mark them incorrectly because I had not read the questions properly. So it is mandatory for us to at least read the question properly once, see if there is any catch word there. So this is what, that's why we bring such questions here, to give you the proper exercise of these questions, proper practice of these questions. Now before we will solve this question, you would ask me, sir, what is the need of this question, why we had brought this in today's discussion? The reason for this is directly from the newspaper article today. Before I would go to the context, I would like to add one more thing here. Our name to our initiative is very unique. I had named it as Daily News Quiz Analysis. You may ask, you may think that it is not proper English. How we can write this? But trust me, the way we conduct our classes, it very well suits, the name very well suits our class. We not only discuss these questions, but we also give the analysis also, we also give the context of these questions, and while giving the context of these questions, we do the news analysis also. So we can call it news analysis come quiz initiative for you guys. So if you had not even read the newspapers, by going through these videos, you would come to know what were the most important articles which are relevant for your preparation in the news today. Now coming back to the question, coming back to the context, why we had brought this question, because there was an article which was about the credibility of the electronic voting machine, as the political parties, they often raise questions about the credibility of the electronic voting machine. And with respect to that, the Supreme Court has taken that issue many times, and it has clarified with the Election Commission of India, by the help of Election Commission of India, that these electronic voting machines, they can't be hacked. There can't be hacking, can't be done by any political party, and they will hack the electronic voting machine and give improper advantage to any political party. So Supreme Court very much clarified it, but still the political parties who lose the elections, they often blame that we should go back to the ballot papers, and rather we should end this electronic voting machine concept. Here the author of this newspaper, he puts some other blame. He discusses this blame of the political parties in a different way. He says, rather than giving such blames, rather than giving such excuses when you lose elections, it has huge bad impacts on the voter outcome, on the voters. Then what the political parties should do, according to the author, there are some other things which the political parties should call upon, which the political parties should ask Election Commission of India. So what are these things which the author here thinks that they are necessary to be questioned? For example, here author says, when the political parties, they give such statements about the electronic voting machine, there in our country we follow our leaders very blindly. When our leaders say something like that, when they lose elections, when they say something like that, our voter trust on the elections would come down, and what will happen in the next elections, the voter turnout will reduce, and it will definitely impact the democracy of the country. So irrespective of doing this, what they should do, they should ask the Election Commission of India to give the clarity with respect to that, to organize the events which will educate the people how these voting machines cannot be hacked. So the Election Commission of India has this duty to clarify this issue, that they should tell them that these voting machines cannot be hacked. And also another issue which was raised here by the author, he talked about the model code of conduct, how Election Commission of India is very much biased towards the political parties who are in power, that once their cabinet leaders or their main leaders, they say anything which violates the code of conduct, they don't take any action with respect to that. And even any other person who is not in power, who is an ordinary candidate, and if he makes any such comments, he gets punished by the Election Commission of India. So here the author says the political parties, they should blame this, they should ask such questions rather than asking for the validity or the credibility of the credibility of the electronic voting machine. And another thing which this article highlighted, it highlighted about the postal ballot. For example, if there is any person who cannot move away from the bed, he is bedridden and he wants to vote, so for him the postal ballot is one of the facility which can be given to him. The officer BLO will come to his home with some representatives and he will give his vote. But here the fraud is seen in at many cases, that BLO is accompanied by some political representatives, and it can manipulate the choices of the voter. So here the author tries to say that such actions can be taken into consideration. And also the author here highlights that how many voters had been removed from the voting list, that should be questioned. And similarly, in the evening time, there are in the previous legislative assembly, in the previous parliament elections, we had seen in the during the evening times, when we had seen at many constituencies, at many voting booths, the votes were given in abundance. So these issues might be highlighted. The author here says that rather highlighting the issue with respect to the working of the electronic voter machine, the political parties should highlight these issues. So this was in the news. I hope this is nutshell what was in the news. That is why here we had framed a question with respect to the functioning, with respect to the powers of the Election Commission of India. But here the question says which of them is not the power of the Election Commission of India. So by taking it into the consideration, we will solve the question. Here the first statement says to supervise, direct and control all the elections of the parliament, state legislatures and the office of president and vice president of India. 100% correct. It is the power of the Election Commission of India. But with respect to this question, as it says, which of them is not the power of Election Commission of India, so with respect to this question, the first statement is incorrect. Coming to the second statement, it says to appoint the chief electoral officers of all states and union territories. 100% it is the function of the Election Commission of India. But similarly, with respect to this question, it is not the correct statement. Coming to the third statement, it says to initiate and conduct inquiries into electoral matters. 100% correct. This has the power to initiate and conduct inquiries with respect to the electoral matters. So with respect to this question, it is also incorrect. That is why, because of this particular statement, we have done all this discussion. Coming to the fourth and last statement of this question, it says to directly control the administration of union territories. Totally incorrect with respect to the question. With respect to the Election Commission of India, they don't have this power to directly control the administration of all union territories. And with respect to the question, as it is said, which of them is not the power of the ECA, Election Commission of India. So with respect to this question, option D is the correct statement. So with this, I hope you had got the idea what was in the news, you had understood the question, and also you had understood the pattern of the question. With this, let's move to the another question and try to solve it. Here question is directly on Article 29 of Indian Constitution. You may wonder, sir, there was no mention of this Article 29 in today's newspaper directly, anywhere. And if you would have read newspapers clearly, you would have found that there was a discussion about the Citizenship Act, Section 6A of the Citizenship Act. There was a discussion about the Section 6A of the Citizenship Act, which is associated with the Section 6A of the Citizenship Act, as it is associated with the Assam, with Assam, citizen status with respect to the population of Assam. So here the author says that the author of the article, he says that this Section 6A of the Citizenship Act, it does fail in Assam. According to him, it does fail in Assam. And according to him, the Supreme Court, the verdict, the Supreme five-judge bench, the verdict they gave with respect to the Section 6A of with respect to the Section 6A of the Citizenship Act, that is totally, according to the author, that does not pass some of the articles in our Constitution, and that statement should have not been given by the Supreme Court. So what is the concern here? If we will look back into the history of the Assam, if we look back into the history of the Northeast, during the 1960, first of all, during 1947, when India got bifurcated into Pakistan and when India got bifurcated into India and Pakistan. At that time, Pakistan was much different. Pakistan looked much different on map as right now it looked. For example, Pakistan consisted of the part of right now what Pakistan is, and also of the East Pakistan, which is currently which is East Pakistan, which is currently the Bangladesh. At that time, many people they got when there was discussion about the partition, many people got attracted towards the Muslim League, known Muslim League, what they were, what they were, what how they showed that Pakistan can be much different what that is right now, and many people in our country got attracted towards that vision, and they migrated from India to Pakistan. But after independence, they started to understand one thing, that that was their mistake, and they started to come back. And same was the case in this particular region in the East Pakistan at that time. People in 1960s and 70s, there was huge political turmoil in East Pakistan, and people started to migrate from East Pakistan to India, and they started to settle down in different parts of the Indian states. For example, Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, West Bengal. These were the major states where they started to settle down. But at the same time, we have to understand one thing. For example, we will give an example of Jammu and Kashmir. There, the people they speak Kashmiri. Especially the part of the Kashmiri. And we have this Article 29, which gives the right to minorities to conserve their distinct language, script, or culture. When people started entering, when there was huge migration from the East Pakistan, they started entering these states. It diluted their culture, it diluted their language, it diluted their it diluted many things. The culture was the major issue, and it did not go well with the people living there. And because of that, in 1979 Assam movement started, and finally in 1985 the Assam Accord was signed. And then this section 60, and section and this section came 6A came into play, where where the government it framed that those who entered into, with respect to the citizenship of these people, those who entered into India before the date of 25th March 25th March, who entered India before the date of 25th March 1971, they will be considered as the citizens of India. It was that time they will be considered citizens of India, those who entered before 1971. And it did not went well with the population in the Bangladesh, sorry, with the people in these particular states. So this case was in the Supreme Court for many decades, and finally recently the Supreme Court gave the verdict, and it said that it is very well in line with the Constitution. And what were the arguments of the Supreme Court? That if any we allow people to enter your states, it does not dilute the culture, you can still protect the culture. And also it stated that according to Article 11 of the Indian Constitution, it is under the Constitution has given the flexibility to the government that they can frame any law with respect to the citizenship. So according to the Supreme Court, it is not against the again, it is not anti-constitutional, it is not something which violates the Constitution. But here the author says that irrespective of this discussion from the Supreme Court, author still believes that this law, this section 6A of the Indian Constitution of the Citizenship Act, is very much violating the Constitution, because he cites out these articles. Article 29, he says that we have this article which gives the minorities to protect their minorities to protect their culture. But why should state allow such things which can dilute it? So according to author, he is not understanding this. He says that this is very much against the spirit of the Article 29. So according to author, it is very much against the Constitution, and he feels that this section 6A of the Citizenship Act does not go well with the Assam. So this was the little discussion which was in the newspaper today. So with respect to this, I believe that it is very much important for us to understand Article 29 in more detail. Here the question says Which of the following statements are correct with regard to Article 29 of the Indian Constitution? First statement, Article 29 guarantees the protection of the rights of minorities to conserve their distinct language, script or culture. 100% correct. Do this right of minorities, is it special to religion? No, it is not special to any minority religion. It is specific to the language, script or culture. So it is not any, it does not have specification for the religious minorities. So that we have to understand. Or similar statement to the protection under Article 29 is available only to religious minorities. Totally incorrect. Third statement, no citizen shall be denied admission to any educational institution that is maintained by the state or receives state aid on grounds only of religion, race, caste, sex, or any of them. 100% correct. So with respect to this question, the correct statements are statement 1 and statement 3 only, and from the code given below, the correct code would be option C. So by solving this question, I hope you had got the basic idea about Article 29 itself. You had got the basic idea what was in the news today, why there is this discussion happening. So with this, let's move to the another question and try to do it. Here the question is about the generic drugs. Here the question says which of the following is not a characteristics of a generic drug. Why we had brought this question? Because of the discussion in today's newspaper, as it highlighted that even though the generic drugs, they are very much cheap, they are similar to the branded drugs, but still what was supposed to be in the generic drugs, that they should maintain the quality and quantity. But unfortunately there are scenes, there are many cases where these generic drugs are found that they are using some powders in the drugs, and they are misleading the patients, and also they are misleading the people, and also the quality is not up to that level. And with respect to regulation, there is no proper regulation with respect to the generic drugs. That is why, by time it is much deteriorating, it leads to deterioration of the health of the people, and that is the reason why the doctors are recommending the branded drugs. That is the reason why doctors do often recommend branded drugs rather than generic drugs. So there are issues of quality, there are issues of quantity, there are issues of misleading with respect to generic drugs. Even though they were for the betterment of the people, they were very much similar, they should have been very much similar to branded drugs. They were much cheaper than the branded drugs. And if we will cite an example, we have the best example of paracetamol and other such medicine like crocin. So these are, paracetamol is the generic drug of the crocin, but often we had seen that there are at many states the paracetamol does not work similarly. So the quality, the quantity quality has been varied, and these are the issues which the author highlights with respect to the generic drugs. So here, by solving this question, we will understand more about it, more about the generic drugs. As the question says which of the following is not a characteristic of the, we have to find out which of the following is not the characteristic of the generic drug. First statement, they contain the same active ingredients as brand name drugs. 100% correct with respect to question, but with respect to the generic drugs, but with respect to question, totally incorrect. Statement 2, they are typically more expensive than branded drugs. No, they are less expensive, they are cheaper than the branded drugs. So with respect to this question, it is incorrect. With respect to the generic drugs, it is incorrect, but with respect to the question, statement B is correct statement. Coming to the third statement, they are required to meet the same quality and safety standards as brand name drugs. 100% correct with respect to the generic drugs, but with respect to question, totally incorrect. Statement 4, they are often available at lower costs compared to brand name drugs. 100% correct with respect to the generic drugs, but with respect to the question, totally incorrect statement. So here the question, correct option to this question is option B. So with this, I hope you had understood what are the various issues which are discussed in the newspaper with respect to the current generic drugs, and you had understood what this drug is all about. Now with this, let's move to the another question and try to solve it. Here the question is about this sacred grooves. Why we had brought this question? Because the Supreme Court of India, it has directed the to the government that they should form a framework for the protection of this sacred groves. Yet it is not protected by the government. So Supreme Court, it has directed the government to frame the framework, to form the framework for the protection of the sacred groves. About the sacred groves, they are the forest areas which certain protection is is associated to the region with certain part of the forest which is associated with some religious belief. So these are the sacred groves, and they are named differently in different states. For example, they are named Sarna in MP, Devra in Maharashtra, and Devham in Himachal Pradesh. So they are named, these sacred groves are named differently in different states. So what is the Supreme Court has issued? Supreme Court issued central government argued, this with respect to this these directions, the central government has argued that states have to protect them under the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, but the Supreme Court said Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change, they should conduct the survey. Here the Supreme Court said that the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, they should conduct the survey with respect to the sacred groves. They should find out how many of them are in our country, and they need to be protected. They should identify the boundaries of these sacred groves, and in identifying the boundaries of the sacred groves, they should give the flexibility that as we know that foresters do increase their space, so there should be flexibility in the boundary of the sacred grooves. So there should be these flexibilities with respect to this. And also, according to this, the Supreme Court, it said that they should be notified. They should be notified for conservative purposes. They should be notified on the conservation purposes. They should be notified on that also. So this is in nutshell about the sacred groves. Now with respect to this, let us try to solve this question and get more idea about it. Here the question says, which of them is not a characteristic of a sacred grove? First statement, they are tracts of forests protected by religious and cultural beliefs. 100% it is the characteristic of sacred grove, but with respect to this question, totally incorrect statement. They are often found in rural areas and tribal groups. 100% they are associated with the belief of the people in rural areas and tribal groups, often found in there. So with respect to this sacred groves, it is true, but with respect to the question, totally incorrect. They are primarily managed by government agencies for conservation purposes. No, that is what the government, the Supreme Court has highlighted here, that they should be managed by the government agencies. They should be notified. So with respect to this question, the correct statement is option C. Fourth statement, they contribute to biodiversity conservation by protecting native flora and fauna. 100% correct with respect to sacred groves, but with respect to question, totally incorrect, as here we have to find out which of them is not a characteristic of sacred groves. So with this, let's move to the another question and try to solve it. Here the question is about which of the following is not a key function of CCTNS, crime and criminal tracking network and system. It was before 2009, what used to happen, for example, if you will file an FIR in the police station, it was very much difficult for another police station to get to get the info about that, to get the copy about that, because all was written on the registries. So it was much, the initiative, for example, in 2009, National E-Governance Program was started, and it was under the Ministry of Home Affairs, and the nodal agency for that was the National Crime Bureau, Records Bureau. And under this initiative of CCTNS, which is Crime and Criminal Tracking Network and System, was introduced. So what will happen under this, we will understand this through this question. First, which of them is not a key function? Here we have to find out which of them is not the key function. First statement, to digitalize all police records, including FIRs, arrest records, and crime scene reports. 100% correct. So what was the function of the CCTNS? To digitalize all police records, including FIRs, arrest records, and crime scenes. So it is first purpose was to digitalize all these police records. But here it is with respect to the question, as we have to find out which is not a key function. So with respect to this question, this is not correct statement. Statement 2, to facilitate interstate and interagency data sharing for improved crime investigation. 100% with respect to CCTNS, but with respect to question incorrect. Earlier what used to happen, that if you have filed an FIR for another agency to get that FIR copy, it was very much difficult. The sharing was not that much possible. That sharing was not that much smooth. So by the help of this CCTNS, it has facilitated interstate and interagency data sharing and for improved crime investigation. So it has led to this. Also, statement 3, to provide a platform for online citizen services such as filing complaints and tracking case status. 100% correct. It has this function under CCTNS, but with respect to this question, it is also incorrect. Then the fourth statement, to exclusively focus on the automation of court proceedings and judgments, it has nothing to do with it. So with respect to this question, the correct statement is option D. So I hope by answering this question, you had understood what are the functions of CCTNS, what it did when it was brought in. It was brought in after 2009 when National E-Governance Program was brought in, which was headed by National Ministry of Home Affairs, and the nodal agency for that was NCRB. So with this, I hope you had understood the topic itself and also the question here. Now with this, let's move to the another question and try to solve it. Here the question is about the initiative, the Dolphin Initiative. About the Dolphin Initiative, as it was brought in almost in 2018 2020, I guess, in lines with the sorry, it was brought in 2020, in with respect to the try it was brought in with respect to the in lines with the Project Tiger. It was brought in 2020 in lines with the Project Tiger. So with respect to this, we need to understand that why we had brought this question here. First of all, we should know that because it is first time ever that the dolphin has been tagged in India, and by this tagging, what we can understand that we will understand the track which the dolphins use in India, where they will go. We will understand all that through this through the satellites. We had tagged them, we had inserted a chip in them, and by tracking we will understand where they will go and understand their movements. So this is dolphin tagging. It has happened first time in India. So with respect to this, we had brought this question about the Dolphin Initiative. We will understand which ministry has brought it. It was formed in 2020 in line with the Project Tiger. So here the question says, the Dolphin Initiative in India primarily falls under the purview of which ministry, department of the Government of India? Is it under the Ministry of Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Rejuvenation? Totally incorrect. Statement C, Ministry of Tourism, totally incorrect. Statement 2, Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairy, totally incorrect. It does not fall under this also. Ministry of Environment, Forests and Climate Change, 100% correct. This in Dolphin Initiative, it does fall under Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So with this, I hope you had understood this topic also. So with this, we will shift towards the another. With this, I hope we had. With this, we will shift towards the another question with respect to the current affairs, and that would be the final question with respect to current affairs. And after that, we will discuss few static topic questions. Here the question with last question with respect to the final current affairs is, which of the following is not a key feature of the Fugitive Economic Offenders Act in India? This Fugitive Economic Offenders Act in India, it was introduced somewhere in, I guess, in 2018. Why it had been brought here? Because there are many economic offenders. For example, Vijay Mallya and Nirav Modi, it has mentioned those persons who had done economic fraud in our country and fled from the country. And the limit to be a fugitive economic offender, you had the money you should have taken from the government should be more than 100 crore rupees. If you had taken money more than 100 crore rupees, you would be called as fugitive economic offender. So why we had brought this question here? We had brought this question because of the news today, as the government has highlighted how much property they has confiscated from the Vijay Mallya, and it is worth 14,000 crore. To which the Vijay Mallya tweeted that he had only taken 6,000 crore from the government, and they should pay him the rest of the money. So this is the issue that is not important for us, but here what is important is the Fugitive Economic Offenders Act in India, what it is related to. Here the question says which of the following is not a key feature of this. So here we have to find out which one is not the key feature of this Fugitive Economic Offenders Act. First statement, it allows for the confiscation of the assets of the economic offenders who have left the country to avoid prosecution. 100% correct, but with respect to the question, totally incorrect statement. Statement 2 enables expeditious attachments and sale of properties of such offenders. 100% correct. This act allows this, but with respect to the question, as it says which is not the function of it, so which is not the feature of this act, so it is also incorrect with respect to the question. Third statement requires the approval of the Supreme Court for declaring an individual as a fugitive economic offender. Totally incorrect. It does not require the permission of the Supreme Court. So with respect to this question, this is the correct statement. Option C is the correct statement. It is not the feature of the Fugitive Economic Offenders Act. Coming to the last statement, aims to deter economic offenses and strengthen the fight against corruption. 100% correct with the act, but with respect to the question, totally incorrect statement. So with respect to this question, the correct statement would be option C, as it does not require the approval of the Supreme Court for declaring any individual as a fugitive economic offender. So with respect to this question, the correct statement is option C. So with this, we complete today's discussion with the current affairs. I hope you had understood every question what we discussed here, and I hope if I was very much clear in explaining the context as well as the questions. If any confusion is there, please do write in the comments. We will try to clear that. So with this, let's move to the another part of our discussion where we will solve this static. Here today's static topic is about Article 46 of the Indian Constitution. As first of all, we should know that it is the part of the DPSPs. It is the part of DPSP, and it comes under the part 4 of the Indian Constitution, and they are not enforceable. These things you should remember always about the DPSPs. Now coming to the question, Article 46 of the Indian Constitution directs the states to first promote the educational and economic interests of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes and other economic backward classes. 100% correct. This promotes the educational and economic interests of the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. So with respect to this question, the first statement is 100% correct, as Article 46 is directly related to that, to promote the educational and economic interests of the scheduled castes and the scheduled tribes. Coming to the second statement, protect the interests of the minorities. Second statement, protect the interests of the minorities, is totally incorrect. Third statement, promote the development of the scientific temper, not here. Organize village panchayats, not here. So with respect to Article 46, what does it say? Promotion. It says promotion of educational and economic interests of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes and other weaker sections. Here we should know that it is not only about scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, it also includes other weaker sections. So with respect to this question, the correct statement is option A. So with this, I hope you had understood Article 46 also. Now with this, let's move towards the last part of our discussion where we will solve the previous year question. Here the question is about the Santhal uprising. It says after the Santhal uprising subsided, when it was subsided, what were the measures taken by the colonial government? So what did they do after this Santhal uprising subsided? So question is question here talks about once this Santhal uprising subsided, what did the colonial government did? First statement, the territories called Santhal Parganas were created. 100% correct. After the Santhal revolt, if you know that it was between 1855 to 56. For this year it was the Santhal revolt. After this subsided, the colonial government, what did they do? They created the territories called Santhal Parganas. They were created. This is 100% correct. Coming to this another statement, it says it became illegal for Santhal to transfer land to a non-Santhal. 100% correct. After this, their law was formed, which was named as an act was formed, which was named as Santhal Parganas Tenancy Act, SPT. Santhal Parganas Tenancy SPT Act was formed, which said that under which it became illegal for a Santhal to transfer land to a non-Santhal. So these two initiatives were brought in after the Santhal uprising subsided. So with respect to this question, the correct statement is both A and B, both 1 and 2. So with respect to this question, the correct statement is option C. The correct option is option C. So with this, we complete today's discussion. I hope you would like the video. I hope you would share it with your friends, and I definitely hope you would subscribe the channel. So thank you for staying with me. Thank you very much. Have a nice day, and best of luck for whatever you are preparing for. Thank you for staying with me.